Hello. So, my hope is that this video is going to find who it needs to find. Um, my message is that I have a voice, so I'm going to use it and not take it for granted so long as I'm alive and breathing and out of harm's way. And I'm just going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I just watched the Netflix docu-series on Gabby Petito, which I thought it was really well made, and I generally hate watching like crime, true crime, murder, things like this, especially when it gets graphic. I'm not into horror, I'm not into murder, I'm not into murder. Yeah, I don't really like watching things like that, but I think that the fact that this was only 3 episodes, and I don't know, I am a traveler. I have lived in an RV, and recently my travels got interrupted from some health flare-ups that I'm dealing with now, but I'm a free spirit like Gabby. I'm a traveler. There was something that compelled me to watch the story, and I did, and it was like really well made, really digestible, and tragic what happened. And it made me remember how my fear of judgment is literally irrelevant to the reason that I'm here on this earth. And Gabby was killed. Her life was taken from her. But she was important and she impacted people. And I mean, I didn't know her personally. I was just impacted by the story. But seeing that she was robbed, her voice was stolen, her life was stolen. The expression of her light in human form was stolen from the world for reasons I don't know why. And I would like to chalk it up to fear on her murderer's part, fear on Brian's part, a major disconnection from his own heart, his own wellness, like whatever it is. I don't know the full story, but I just think that it's a pattern and a reoccurring theme in the world where people are afraid. People like to project their fears onto other people, and it causes people to shut down, and it teaches people to dismiss their own intuition and to stop listening to themselves. And there's nothing more heartbreaking to me than the disconnection of feeling like you are in a situation or a relationship or an institution, because this happens on institutional scales, like in systemic scales. And people don't even want to be perpetuating this type of ignorance and this type of disconnection, this type of fear-mongering, but they themselves are surviving. They're afraid. They need money. They need work. So they sell their soul. They allow themselves to be brainwashed and manipulated and trained into spewing the fear that they get projected onto them and the control that they get projected onto them onto other people. And they just spread hate, they spread fear, they spread control. And it's literally like a disease that every time I speak out and post a video on something that's important to me, it's like I'm trying to fight. This is me trying to like put spiritual antibodies into the world, because I'm here and I want to be a force of truth. I want to be a force of integrity. I want to be a force of honesty. I want to be a force of real spirituality and connection with God, with nature. Because one thing that I have learned, and what watching this documentary reminded me of, is that as long as I am in touch with the voice of my heart and honoring the truth in my heart, the messages, my stories, the things that are in my heart that I know are going to change people's lives, whether it's personal things that I've been through or lessons I've learned or transformations I've undergone or things that I've survived from and grown from and learned from. I just want to share those things, and this tends to happen where I just completely lose my train of thought because I get very emotional and I get very overwhelmed, and I think a lot about how I want to share the things that I have to say, and it all gets jumbled up because it's a lot of emotion at once, and I tend to kind of just like drawl on in my videos, and I am afraid that they won't wind up, reaching the audience that they need to, and that's just another fear. It's just another thing that cycles in my head that I know is not true. But coming back to my main point, the reason I made this video is that I am still here. I've also been in abusive relationships and situations like Gabby has, and I survived them, and I either had the grace of God, the support of my family, the support of people around me to escape those situations, or just like sheer godly support to escape certain situations. And I do not take that in vain. My life is a gift. My life is not something that I can take for granted. The fact that my voice works perfectly fine is not something that I can ever take for granted. Especially seeing her story and being reminded that while I'm alive, I need to remember how much more important the story in my heart, the truth in my heart, the voice in my heart is than my fear of judgment and my fear of projection. Because every single day, I share vulnerably constantly. I can't not. It's very natural for me. And I have gotten tremendous positive feedback from the stories I've shared, the vulnerability that I've shared. I've helped people feel less alone. I've inspired people. I've touched people. And that's literally the only reason why I share. I'm not doing it for some, for it to be cathartic for me. I'm not doing it to get validation. I'm not doing it to be recognized or seen in a certain way. I'm doing it because I went through things that not everybody has survived from. I went through things that not everybody has transformed and grown from. And for that reason, I feel called to share my stories and to share my knowledge so that other people can feel empowered and can feel validated and can feel connected and not alone. There's a shadow outside of a palm tree waving around. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's that. But yeah, anyway, I share personal stories a lot of the time, and I used to share a lot about, I've shared countless painful things that I've been through, and someone just left a really, really, really nice comment on a post that I made about my experiences with hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which I'm experiencing right now to heal some long-standing things, health issues that I have, which I'll post info for that in the description. And I'm actually raising funds for myself right now so that I can get more supplemental treatment, and you can read my story in the GoFundMe link, which again I'll share below. But she left this really nice comment, and she was just like, the tone in this of just overcoming or whatever was so good. And I'm like, thank you. And she was like, it broke my heart to see some of the painful things that you shared before. And I was just like, yeah, I was thinking about this for a while. I wonder how many of my previous posts were maybe not as focused on transformation and growth as maybe I would like to get across. So one thing that I want to focus on moving forward when I share these painful, hard to digest things is to put more of a focus on how I grew from them and what helped me and what helped me heal and what saved me through those things. 'Cause that's what I want for everyone who's going through some insufferable thing. Yeah. And, you know, it just, I'm here making this video right now because I'm inspired. I'm inspired to let go more and more of my fear of people's judgment and projections, especially because, you know, I mean, this has happened on and off throughout the years where, like, I will post something really vulnerable and only like 3 people will react to it and they won't even say anything and they'll just like it. And, you know, I don't know what people are thinking. I don't know how it's landing. And it's not like I'm standing in front of people physically who are like, you know, appreciating the words that I have to say or encouraging me to share more or telling me like, oh, this person really needed to hear that. Thank you. Keep going. There are a lot of times where I have to tell myself that. And I think that's just part of the journey of those who have stories to tell that are not openly talked about. Like domestic violence, that will get like what Gabby went through, like abuse, like the troubled teen industry, like trafficking. Those are things I went through. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about them. And sometimes it's really hard to get myself to talk about them and share them openly because, again, of the fear of judgment and a fear of just feeling like I'm opening up, getting really vulnerable. But then, you know, no one is really like, it's just hard. It's just hard to motivate myself sometimes to share. But it's never stopped me and it's not going to stop me. And it's just something that I'll continue to, you know, overcome. And, you know, coming back to again, the main point of this is that people's judgments don't matter. What people say, what people think, it doesn't matter. To an extent it does, because we want to know that we're not alone in the world. We want to know that people have our backs. And it can be hard to rely on that when you've been through the things that are the very stories that you are here to tell, to empower other people if they ever find themselves in those kinds of situations. I hope that made sense. I'm going to end this here, and I'll just say one final thing just to recap. If you're in a situation where you feel like you have a story in your heart to tell that you know in your heart of hearts is going to positively impact somebody, even if you don't know who it is, I would encourage you to just embrace your fears, your insecurities. Just put your arm around them like a friend and say, I see you, I'm here with you, and it's okay to feel this way, and I can be your friend right now. I am here for you. I think what you have to share is powerful, so I'm gonna help you share it. And I would encourage you to just put your voice out into the world, because, you know, you have a voice, you have your life, and that's way more powerful than, you know, than not and withholding, you know, because you're unsure of what people are going to think, when in the end it really doesn't matter. And none of us know when we're going to die. None of us know who needs to hear what we have to share. So just don't take your voice for granted. And also don't be hard on yourself. That's another thing that's challenging sometimes. Yeah, I just hope that this was impactful, helpful in any kind of way, and I send my love, and I'll see you in the next video.